when we're confronted by pain and disease and madness and death and loss, it is you who minister to us. It's you who care for us. It's you who use your skills and experience to support us and let us lean on you. And yet you are the people who the state has consistently slapped in the face for the last 5 years. It is you who've been left exhausted, distressed, and stony broke. And it's not just me, some bloke off the telly saying that. I've been talking to loads of nurses since I got this invite from the RCN, and their voices echo in my head even now. The nurse from St Helens who said to me, I'm a single mum, I had a messy divorce. It was almost impossible to keep the family together. I work for a full week, then I have to do agency work just to get enough for my family to live in. I had to go to a charity to pay for the gas and electricity. I went to another charity to pay for the nurse's registration so I could carry on being a nurse. Each month, at the end of the month, I don't have enough money to buy food for my kids. It's humiliating. It's a great crowd, isn't it?
Fantastic crowd.
I hope these people are going to be able to hear us over that roar of fury.
What have your thoughts been about the way government has been funding public sector workers since 2010?
It's kind of mad, isn't it, that on one hand they've been pumping money into the banks in order, theoretically, to keep the country stabilised. And the bankers have been shoving it into their vaults, giving themselves huge bonuses, and continue to lie and cheat and manipulate finance. While the people who really hold the country together, the public sector workers, continue to get wage cuts because, all right, they get 1% a year extra, but inflation goes up 2, 3, 4% a year. So it is a wage cut. Bonkers.
15% wage reduction in real terms compared to 2010. Do you see this as part of a deliberate attack against the NHS?
Is this a deliberate attack on the NHS? I just think that this particular government isn't in a position to look after the NHS. It'll fanny about with it and it'll say that it supports it. But objectively, what it's doing and what it will continue to do will be an attack on the NHS.
Some commentators we've spoken to have said this is part of a deliberate defunding, destabilisation, make the NHS fail, then present switching to an insurance system as a solution. What do you think of that idea?
I think there's a great deal of truth in the fact that there are a lot of MPs who would like to see us switching to private insurance. I think they would want to keep on some kind of NHS for casualty, for very poor people, that kind of thing. But yeah, there is no doubt that that's a deliberate strategy on the part of some people. And we just need to dig our heels in and say no. And that's not solely a party political thing. My mum and dad were both Tories, working class Tories. But the NHS was so important to them, and they wouldn't have any truck with this nonsense at all.
Do you think a lot of people have fallen into the austerity trap that we can't afford these things and we have to tighten our belt?
It's a great excuse, isn't it? It's a great piece of rhetoric. Oh, our country's got to get back on its feet again, so let's cut the nurses' pay. It's terrible economics. The reality is, just using their criteria, the more money that you give to working people and poorer people, the more that money gets pumped back into the economy. If you give it to the rich, you just take it away. The issue is to get this resolved financially, and that's at that level. And that's the level that we're aiming at today. I think that's really what should worry us now. There's all this rhetoric beginning to emerge from politicians about, yes, we'll scrap the cap, but what do they actually mean by it? Do they mean that they will subsidise some kind of increase in nurses' wages by cutting even further bursaries, training, overtime, the possibilities of promotion?
because we don't want anything to do with that. It's got to be scrapping the cap now, not next year or the year after, and it's got to be new money.